Caleb from Brownells here, and in today's tech tip, we're going to be doing a stock repair on a Remington 870. What we're doing here pretty much applies to any firearm with a butt pad that screws on, because as you can see, the issue here is that the holes that the screws thread into are just absolutely stripped out, and there's no way to put this stock back on this gun securely. So there's a few ways to go about fixing this. Well, I should say there's only one really correct way to fix it. There's a few ways to tackle the problem though. First thing we're going to do though, before I start doing anything, is I'm just going to make sure the firearm's unloaded. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull this stock off so that while I'm showing you what I'm doing, I don't have to swing a shotgun around. I'll just get to swing a stock around, which is a lot easier. So, and just to be clear, you can certainly do this repair with the stock on. You don't have to take it off. I'm just going to use a different bit here. Brownells Magnetip slotted driver. And we're just gonna thread it on off of there. There we go. Alright, so I'm gonna take the shotgun and I'm gonna set it out of the way. So now we're just working on the stock. Alright, so these are the two holes here that are just absolutely stripped out. Not necessarily an uncommon thing. I've seen this on multiple shotguns. Standard stocks, laminate stocks, whatever, doesn't matter. I've seen polymer stocks that were this way. But the correct way to fix the wooden stock is going to be what we're going to do is we're going to drill out these holes and we're going to glue a wooden dowel into place, and then we're going to re-drill the holes for the actual screws themselves. And that'll bring things back to new, basically. If you look at some of the, I say some older literature and stuff like that, because I think one of the Brownells Gunsmith Kink books, I don't remember which one it is, but there were a few fixes for this in that book. They'll work in a pinch, but they're not necessarily the correct way to do it. One of them was to just take a Q-tip and break it off in the hole so that the screw has something to bite to. Yes, that'll work in a pinch, but it's not necessarily a long-term solution. Another one was to just wrap steel wool around the screw threads and then do the same exact thing. Again, works in a pinch, but not a great long-term solution. So now that you know if you're like, you got to walk out the door, you're going on a hunt, now you know what you can do to get you through that hunt. But we're going to go ahead and go through the proper way to do it. So for this, we have a 1/4 inch wooden dowel. I just got it at the local hardware store. And then we have a 1/4 inch drill bit. We have, again from the local hardware store, some Tight Bond 3, which is just some waterproof wood glue. And then we have another drill bit. This one here is 125 thousandths. And that'll be perfect for drilling for the original screws. Alright, so with that being said, I'm just going to grab this thing in the vise here. But actually, before I do that, one of the tricky parts of this is re-drilling those holes, right? So one thing we can do is just create a template to lay over the back and tell us where to drill those holes. So I'm just going to lay the stock down on a sheet of paper. I'm going to trace it. Alright. Then we just need to grab some scissors and get to do a little bit of arts and crafts here. Just cut it right on the line. Nice and easy. And then what we're going to do from here is put this up against the stock. Put that over there. All right. Just lay this on the stock, and then those holes, the original screw holes, just kind of find them with your pencil here, and then poke a hole. You may have to kind of look and see. Alright. So now, once we get our, and then obviously try to kind of poke them as close to the center of those holes as possible. But what you want to do at this point is just set this aside, don't lose it, because what we're going to do, we're just going to set it on the top, put a piece of tape it down, and then just drill our new holes right through that, pull it off, and put the butt pad on. But now we can grab this in our vise, and make sure you're using some sort of padded vise jaws here. And what we're going to do is take our 1/4 inch drill bit, and we also need to determine how deep we want to go, and that can kind of be determined by your screws. I'm just going to go with the longest screw because these screws are, they're both technically the same length, they just don't go, the butt pad itself is thicker in 2 different areas. So we're going to pull it, make sure it's at its full depth, and then we're going to measure it, and then our dowel should probably be just a little bit longer than that. We'll drill the hole a little bit longer than the screw. Alright, so what we'll do, I'll just take a quick measurement here. So that's just under 1 inch. I'm actually gonna go up a bit. Yeah, we'll just go to a full inch. That'll be fine. All right. Alright, and then we're just going to set our drill bit here. Also, we're just going to go ahead and cut our wooden dowel. And actually, we'll just use the vise to help us with that. So we're going to need 2 1-inch pieces. Take my pencil. And I'll just cut that with the hacksaw. And that went right through there. I'll need to be a little careful on the next one. Alright. And then we'll just do that again. And I may actually run that against some sandpaper just to level it out. Alright, about 1 inch. And these measurements don't have to be exact, so there's a little bit of room to play with there. There we go. Alright, and just a little strip of sandpaper here. Also cut a little bit of a bevel on there so I can push it into the hole a little easier. There we go. Alright, so now we can just set up our drill depth really quick and easy way. And I'll just because the drill's pointed, I'm going to go just a little bit longer. And I'm just using a piece of tape for that. So put our stock back in. Alright. And I'm going to do this so I can actually get behind it here. But all I'm doing is I'm going straight in that hole to the depth of the tape. And I'm just going to try and go as straight in as possible. And we'll be good. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna check that depth here. And that should be just fine. So what we'll do at this point is get our wood glue ready. And I'm gonna get some of the old glue out of this here. Unless the new glue comes out around it. Basically, I'm just trying to make sure I have some runny glue. Because there's some old glue stuck in a cap and that's really thick. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some of this on the dowel. I'm going to put a little bit like down in the hole. And I'm just going to press those dowels in. And I'm going to put it back in the vise so I can just kind of tap it in with a mallet if I need to. And I'm going to switch, no I'm not, maybe I am, I don't know. I'm going to switch to some rubber pads just to grip it a little better. Alright, yeah, that'll go right in there. So, there's some glue there, a little glue there. Some glue on the dowels, and all the excess will just push out and we'll just wipe it off. That's no big deal. Alright, I'm going to tap this thing in here. I should label these drawers. At this point, you don't want to get glue on your shirt, so step back just a little bit. Alright, and do the same thing for the bottom. And those dowels are sticking a little proud. You can always sand those areas later, or since we know our holes are deep enough, we'll just use a punch and gently get them flush. Alright, and there you have it. So we plugged those holes, and we'll just sand it a little bit once it's dry. And then at that point, all we need to do, I'll show you what we're going to do here. Alright. I'm just cleaning up this template a little bit so you can see the holes better. Alright, so we're just going to tape this on here, run that drill bit through each of these holes, and we're going to do that roughly an inch again. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can go a little deeper than an inch. It's no big deal. Because you got plenty of room inside this stock, you just have to have enough room for the screws to get through. So we're going to go ahead, let this dry real quick, and then we'll drill some holes. Alright, so we're back. The stock, the dowels, everything, all that stuff's nice and dry, and we're ready to finish it up. So let's get our template put back on there, and I'm just going to put it right here. Gently hold it while I tape it on, and I'm just going to use some painter's tape here. And you don't need much. We're just going to lay it on there, make sure it is where it's supposed to be, because that's important. If this is off a little bit, if you don't drill these holes perfect, then your recoil pad is going to overhang one side or the other, so it's important to get that alignment. Alright, so I'm just going to tape one side down, and looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to put a little piece on the other side, and that's plenty. You don't need to go crazy with this. Alright, and then we're just going to run our drill bit in about an inch. So you can go a little bit over, just don't go under, because we got to make the full depth of that screw. Alright, and I'm just going to push the, kind of just make sure my template's in place. And actually, something I'm going to do here, I have a center punch. I'm just going to put it on that hole, and that's just going to help guide my drill bits and prevent my drill bit from walking whenever it first starts. So just try and keep things nice and straight. And make sure your drill bit is chucked up well. Alright. Same thing on the bottom. Nice and straight. And when I say straight, I mean going the direction of the stock. That looks pretty good. Alright, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of air here. And then we'll tighten down our recoil pad. And we do have a special bit just for that. It's a rounded bit. And then we're just going to put a little bit of oil on there. If I can locate some oil here. There we go. And somebody has taken this pad off without oil plenty of time before, but we don't need to make it worse. And because this pad, the base of it where it meets the stock is actually polymer, it's not rubber like the rest of it. So if we don't screw down, if we don't stagger the way we screw this thing down, we could put some force on it and make it flex and potentially break it. So we just got to be careful with that. And there's a little bit of play in these as well, so whenever you're tightening them down, you may have to just kind of push it the direction you want it to go. And if yours is a factory gun, like in the case of this one here, it's not a perfect fit. The stock is a little bit, looks like it's a little bit smaller than the pad. But that's okay. We'll just kind of position it here. And we're good to go. All that's left to do now is to just put it... Yep, all we got to do now is just put it on the firearm and we're good to go. It goes on the same way it came off. I'm not going to make you sit through that, but that's all there is to it. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything like that, different ways you do it, let us know in the comments down below. If you need help with anything for any reason ever, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.